Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here. I'm beyond delighted and really thrilled to be able to introduce you tonight to Ma Jian and his longtime translator, Flora Drew. Ma Jian was born in Qingdao, China in 1953. He is the author of Stick Out Your Tongue, his debut novel, which in 1987 led to permanent banning of his books in China. Red Dust, winner of the Thomas Cook Travel Book Award, 4 collections of short stories and essays, and 6 further novels, including Beijing Coma, which was the winner of the Index on Censorship Book Award and the Athens Prize for Literature. His last book, The Dark Road, nominated for the Independent Foreign Fiction Prize, saw him barred from returning to China. His work has been translated to more than 20 languages, and he now lives in exile in London. Flora Drew's translations from the Chinese include Ma Jian's Red Dust, The Noodle Maker, Stick Out Your Tongue, Beijing Coma, The Dark Road, and of course, the book we'll be talking about today, China Dream. She has translated the entirety of Ma Jian's works into English and is his voice in that language. What I thought I'd begin, slightly personally but very genuinely, is that this is really my favorite novel of the year. I found it a thoroughly engaging piece of work. I think over the course of his career, Ma Jian has provided, really, readers across the world with a very unique window on what has been happening in China over the past half-century. And this book in particular, I think, needs a little explanation to start with, at least from the point of view of the title. As some of you may be familiar, China Dream is a reference to President Xi Jinping's policy of the China Dream of national rejuvenation, which, as the novel, I believe, implies in some ways, and as has been said before, I think despite the socialist rhetoric, actually belies a very explicitly hyper-capitalist agenda and a great deal of national jingoism, which of course has greatly affected communities like the Uyghurs, a subject that Ma Jian has really been very passionate about and has mentioned in his work. I wanted to go ahead and read a little excerpt from the absolutely wonderful foreword, Ma Jian's foreword to China Dream, which I think will set us up for our conversation. China's tyrants have never limited themselves to controlling people's lives, he writes. They have always sought to enter people's brains and remold them from the inside. In fact, it was the Chinese communists in the 1950s who coined the term brainwashing. The China Dream is another beautiful lie concocted by the state to remove dark memories from Chinese brains and replace them with happy thoughts. Decades of indoctrination, propaganda, violence, and untruths have left the Chinese people so numb and confused, they have lost the ability to tell fact from fiction. They have swallowed the lie that the party leaders are responsible for the country's economic miracle, rather than the vast army of low-paid workers. The rabid consumerism encouraged in the last 30 years, and which along with inflated nationalism lies at the heart of the China Dream, is turning the Chinese into overgrown children who are fed, clothed, and entertained, but have no right to remember the past or ask questions. I mean, that's a phenomenal excerpt from this striking foreword to the novel. And now we will have the pleasure of hearing Ma Jian read from the novel in Chinese, and then Flora Drew will follow with her translation from the English, which I think is absolutely superb. So please.
你要读一段你的那个小说。
Okay.
先介绍一下。
非常高兴大家要听一个说中文的一个作家在这里说话。
Very happy to be here and to speak to you.
但是这本书是写的我在中国和现在中国的这种变化碰撞在一起，特别是这个习近平作为这个国家主席之后，中国发生的这个变化，导致我写这么一本书，叫《中国梦》。
So I'm speaking today about China Dream, which is my reflection on the changes that the current regime under Xi Jinping have brought about in China.
最主要的一点就是我们会发现这个世界到处都是些说谎者，美国也是，我看你们英国也是，中国也是。我们作家必须要找到一种真实。
So perhaps all of us are under the impression at the moment that we are surrounded by leaders who are willing to spout lies, whether it is here or across the oceans. And so now more than ever is a time for writers to search for the truth.
我读的这一段呢，是关于这个中国，因为中国最近这10几年的变化非常大，到处都在拆房子，变成一些新的大楼，但是很多老百姓，有的得到了好处，有的得不到好处。那么这种矛盾冲撞的时候，让我就想到了中国的文化大革命。
This excerpt is about a phenomenon that's very common now in China of enforced demolitions of villages, and that phenomenon immediately brought to my mind the violence of the Cultural Revolution. It seemed to be a repetition. So this excerpt from the book focuses on such demolition, and in the mind of the party leader Ma Jian, who witnesses this demolition, his own flashbacks to the violence that he experienced in his youth in the Cultural Revolution.
大家可能都知道，集权和暴力这两个总是捆绑在一起。你们也看到了今天的香港。那么，当这个我在描述这段的时候，你会发现的中国的这些人民，他们对于自己面对的家里要被拆迁，他们的田地要被盖成房子，他们得到的这个各种各样的补偿没有到位的时候，你会发现暴力就可以出现了，因为暴力可以改变社会。
So it is also a common phenomenon that authoritarianism or tyranny and violence are inseparable, and where people such as these villagers or the people in Hong Kong today, when they're pushed to the edge, they are often driven to demand for their rights. They are inevitably, when faced with tyrannical rule, are met with a violent suppression.
暴力当然了，可以把这个社会变得很有秩序，但是暴力会把这个仇恨埋到了地底下，埋到了那些新盖的大楼底下，这就是一个潜在的危险。
So, of course, for those in power, violence can be a means of re-establishing order, but it also so that the hatred it engenders, it sows the seeds that will inevitably grow to more unrest in the future. So this is a continual cycle of violence and repression.
我只是读一两句，读很少一段，主要大家是听英文的吧。习主席万岁！村民边退边搂汽油瓶，砸破之后就是一片火。头戴黄色安全帽的拆迁工人，在武警的后面准备进村，手持棍子和插狗用的大铁叉子的协警开始追捕村民。女警和护士开始去拖那几个躺在路面上喊着毛主席万岁的老人们。一个汽油瓶撞到了实现中国梦、誓死保卫家园的红布条，老马就闻到了一股油烟味儿。住着上百万的东方红总部里，每个房间都是煤油烟、印刷油墨或者大蒜的味道。那天，百万雄师弄到了军队的小钢炮，很快就包围了我们。很少一点。
So this, just to recap, this is a passage where the corrupt official Ma Jian, who's been in a provincial town in China, who's been given the task to implement President Xi Jinping's China dream. And part of this, in his local town, and this is his chance to really make it big and achieve high office. He's been dispatched to the village where in the Cultural Revolution he had spent years as, and was protected by this village, spent years as an educated youth. But here he is, decades later, returning to enforce the demolition to make way for a huge factory. And he is confronted by the resistance of the villagers and remembers the horrific scenes of violence that he witnessed in the Cultural Revolution. The villagers shout, "Long live President Xi," and then hurl petrol bombs and rocks. The demolition workers in yellow helmets begin to advance towards the village behind a line of armed police. Assistants with dogs and pitchforks rush out ahead and pursue the fleeing villagers. An elderly couple who have fallen to the ground shout, "Long live Chairman Mao," as they're dragged away by two female officers. A petrol bomb strikes the red banner emblazoned, "Make the China dream come true, fight to the bitter end to defend our homeland." Ma Jian smells the heady petrol fumes, and then he returns to his own memories. The East is Red headquarters reeked of diesel, printing ink, and garlic. There were hundreds of us dossing there. When the Million Bold Warriors, that was the group that the militia group he was involved in the Cultural Revolution, received a cannon from their supporters in the People's Liberation Army, they launched another attack on us. 100 of them surrounded our headquarters, then charged up to the top floor shouting, "Surrender and your life will be spared." When they reached the big room at the top, a red guard grabbed a boy called Cui Dugen, who was standing right next to me, slammed him onto the ground, handcuffed him, and struck him in the head and again with a hand grenade until his legs convulsed. I reached for a metal pike and slaughtered the murderer. 2 other red guards then pounced on me, and we fought with our fists until one of them stabbed me in the chest 3 times and I collapsed on the floor. Then Sun Tao, a boy in the year below me at school, stepped out from the gang of Million Bold Warriors and shouted, "Son of a rightist dog." And here he is back to the present day in the village. "We'll defend President Xi with our lives," Genza yells to the line of shield-bearing armed police. "Attack us if you're not afraid to die." A bulldozer rams into the concrete house, shattering a chunk of the facade. Afraid that the wobbling structure is about to collapse, the people on the roof drop onto their stomachs. But the sales manager, Guandolin, keeps standing, calmly strikes a match, and sets himself on fire. For a few seconds, he hops madly in the ball of flames. Then he leaps off the roof, lands on the bulldozer, and rolls onto the road. Firefighters spray him with extinguishers, and as he thrashes about in the white foam, he howls, "Long live President Xi Jinping."
Okay.
Thank you both for that wonderful reading. I really appreciated it. So just to, again, get the conversation started here, the lead character, essentially really the anti-hero of China Dream, is Ma Jian, who is corrupt, jaded, a thoroughly loathsome man in many aspects, actually. But I think if that was the simple truth of the novel, then it wouldn't be as engaging as it actually is. Thanks to Ma Jian's technique of slipping back and forwards in time in between China in the 2010s, when Ma Jian is very advanced in age and he is heading the China Dream Bureau, which is tasked, of course, with implementing the policies that we discussed earlier. And then going back in time to his experiences as a youth during the Cultural Revolution. And so despite being this thoroughly loathsome man who you can't seem to like at any turn, thanks to going backwards in time, we're able to start to empathize with this character. And basically understand that, sure, he's loathsome, but he is also being deeply traumatized like many of his generation, unfortunately. So when it comes to this technique, did you did you realize that it would make this character more empathic? Was this something that you consciously sought to do, or was your primary goal to really talk about the history of your country?
就是你描写马道德这
Yeah.
个人物，你也把他的那个文革的那个童年也描写，那是为了让读者更同情他，因为他本来你描写他是非常反感一个很腐败的一个人，是为了读者同情他，或者是为了让读者更了解文革是什么目的？你是希望读者也有一点同情这个坏人？
很难说。当我在写这个小说人物的时候，我想到的最多的还是奥威尔写的《1984》里边的那个温斯顿。
So when I came to write about this corrupt official, in fact, at the front of my mind, the starting point, the inspiration was Orwell's Winston in 1984.
在中国，你们如果去了中国的博物馆，去了大学，去过任何的一个机构，你会发现，从1949年之后的中国，很多历史它是被漂白的，看不见的。
So if you go to China and visit any museum, go into any bookshop, walk through any university, it is as if the history from 1949 to the present has been completely whitewashed, erased.
我当然认为，如果失去了历史，失去了记忆，人也就失去了情感。
And my belief is, when you erase memory, when you erase history, what you're really striking at is people's sense of compassion for their fellow man.
马道德这个角色，他一开始作为一个少年的时候，他经历了文化大革命，而经历了文化大革命跟我的这个年龄段是比较接近的，14岁、15岁、16岁左右。
So Ma Jian, he is from my generation. He experienced the Cultural Revolution broke out when he was 14, 15, at this very impressionable age.
在我们那个时代，像马道德这个人物，他是完全的是热爱党、热爱社会主义。他们认为中国之外的这些国家，包括你们，都是我们的敌人。
So just like me at the time, Ma Jian loved the Communist Party. He was a fervent supporter of Chinese socialism. He thought that every foreign country, including Great Britain, was an enemy of the Chinese people.
文革比较危险的一点就是一个很小的细节，哪怕他的爸爸一支钢笔，哪怕是他家里边保存的一张过去跟外国人的照片，他都有可能会死掉，在文化大革命。
But also, like everyone else, just one small detail. For example, in the book, it's the fountain pen that his father had brought back from the Korean War. It was a foreign fountain pen that he kept proudly in his lapel. Or for somebody else, it might be a photograph. Just one small item can then completely destroy the life of even the most fervent supporter of the regime.
当马道德要把这个中国梦彻底要灌到每一个中国人的脑子里的时候，他突然发现，他过去的这些东西，过去的这些记忆，全都在面前跳出来了。他的爸爸妈妈，他的朋友，武斗、死亡，一切都是非常清晰。他走投无路。在这个小说里边，我要让他这里边不是他非要找回情感，是情感必须找回他。
Okay, got it.
OK。
So here, when Ma Jian is given this mission to implant the Xi Jinping's great China dream into the brain of every Chinese person, when he's trying to find a way to do this, he is assaulted himself by all these memories that I describe in the book of his youth. He is burdened by all the shame of all the terrible things he has committed in his youth, and it becomes unbearable and unbearable to hold. So it is the reason, to answer your question, the reason I wanted to show, the reason I had these continual flashbacks into the past is I wanted to show that it wasn't that these feelings of shame and sorrow, it's not that he is trying to retrieve them. It is that however hard he tries to repress them, they have a force that they will such force that they impose themselves on him, and that's what leads to his breakdown. So that's what was at the heart of this toing and froing between the present and the past. Gola.
Right, I see. No.
Sorry, it's very long.
A long
No,
answer.
that's what we're here for. This is wonderful. This is exactly what I'm sure the audience wants. It's certainly what I want. Thank you for that answer, and perhaps a round of applause for this intensive labor process of translating backwards and forwards. Thank you to both of you. Since we sort of slightly ended on the implanting of the dream, I found one of the most ingenious plot devices. Well, this is part of the plot that Ma Dowd, perhaps in recognition of the fact that implanting the dream in every Chinese citizen could be such an impossible task, perhaps even one that's doomed to fail from the very start, he continually tries to hatch this idea of the Chinese dream device, which is this microchip that he hopes to implant into the minds of every citizen, I guess immensely facilitating his task. I did say he'd grown jaded and lazy. And so he tries to come up with this device and hopes that it will soon be available. I'm very curious, what was your inspiration for that? I think, this is a very political novel, but that's got a touch of sci-fi to it. And I think a lot of great political novels do have that. And of course, the best science fiction novels, of course, are very political. But I'm wondering what the inspiration for this was.
就让说一下，你马道德要把有那个电脑磁片插进去，这个注意从哪里出来？就有比较幻想的一个东西。你从哪里来的灵感？
这个到处都是，现在已经快成功了。你如果在网上看，就是人的大脑这里切一个片儿，可以把这个大脑的系统全部吸收过来。
In fact, this is not the realm of sci-fi. This is happening right now. There's a lot of research going on, a lot of new possibilities of implanting neural devices into the brain and controlling thought. So this was just an extension of my imaginative extension of what's already happening.
呀，但是我在选这个情节的时候，其实我要把这个现代的科学跟中国过去的传统，我想把这两个东西结合起来。
But in this novel, what I wanted to fuse was this very high-tech pioneering, almost sci-fi technology, and to somehow link that to very ancient parts of Chinese mythology, and to see how to make a literary fusion of these two elements.
因为在中国的这个传统的文化里边，人死了以后要喝一碗这个叫孟婆汤，喝完了之后，你才是彻底死了。你就忘了你活着的时候你是谁，然后你才能到地狱或者到天堂。所以这个孟婆汤是这个马道德是希望把它重新挖出来，跟现在的科技从文学上来讲，它是一条线。
So I wanted to make the connection between this very high-tech attempt to manipulate or to erase thoughts with the Chinese mythological belief in the broth of oblivion, this old lady Meng, who stands on the bridge in the afterlife, and that it's believed that when a person dies, their soul travels to this bridge, and before they can be reincarnated into another body, they must drink this old lady's will ladle out a bowl of the soup of forgetfulness, so that their past lives can be erased and they can be reborn. So I wanted to make that connection between, it seemed to be one long line from the very ancient to the modern of this need to erase the past.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's absolutely fascinating. Thank you very much. There is a speech by one of the characters in this novel. The character is called Chief Ding, and I wanted to read a quote that will then hopefully bring us into another level of discussion here. "This is the Chinese century," continues Chief Ding, jabbing the document with his finger. "Before the founding of the People's Republic in 1949, we suffered 100 years of humiliation. From the burning of the Summer Palace to the rape of Nanjing, we were battered, bullied, and slaughtered by foreign imperialists. Then, Chairman Mao seized power and proclaimed that the Chinese people had stood up. Now, after 60 years of communist rule, the Chinese people have raced ahead. Xi Jinping's dream is that by 2021 centenary of the Chinese Communist Party, our society will be moderately prosperous, and that by the 2049 centenary of our republic, our economy will have overtaken America's, and China will regain its central place on the world stage." So my question here, do you see the China dream as is currently being implemented as directly rooted in those 100 years of humiliation?
他的问题就是，你觉得现在中国梦这个概念是直接跟那个100年被西方人受侮辱的那种感觉的一种结果，是因为中国人觉得100年从现在他们要报仇。
Are there any other aspects we should be mindful of?
OK， 或者还有别的这个中国梦的一个概念是到底是什么？
如果说中国梦跟美国梦是发展了之后，人们给它做了一个解释，这叫美国梦。中国梦就是还没有发生，我们要去实现一个东西。那么在这个中国梦提出来的概念之前，习近平所习惯用的，就是我们受过了很多西方国家或者说是西方的列强对中国的伤害，那是一种耻辱。现在我们要把它反过来了，我们要发展，我们要变成向这个帝国主义宣战，我们要成为一个更大的帝国。
Yes, as soon as you talk about the China dream, you inevitably think of it, the American dream that it's based on, and the huge disparity between these two concepts. Because the American dream, that was a term that was coined for a phenomenon that had already taken for great achievements that had taken place. It was descriptive of millions of individuals' successful efforts. Whereas this, in opposition to the China dream, it is a state before anything. They call it the China dream before anything has even happened. It's state imposed, and it's where the individual is subsumed into the collective, and that their dream is the national dream. So these are two completely different things. And yes, at its root, it is a reaction to this is the 100 years of humiliation, this sense of victimhood that the Chinese state tries to reinforce again and again. And so through the China dream, through this mission to become a global power. In fact, what it is, it's a sort of act of revenge. It is a way to say that this is, it's striking against the imperialism of the past by becoming an even worse form of imperialism.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. So one of the occurrences during this novel is Dowd has been entrusted with the task of persuading the villagers of Yaobang village, just outside Ziyang city, to leave their ancestral homes, which, as was mentioned earlier, is going to be turned into a factory. In fact, a large part of the village, I think, also becomes a parking lot. And I'm wondering, was this a metaphor that you wanted to use to describe the powerlessness of the people in the face of such actions? Sorry.
就你描写耀邦村要离开，然后变成一个大广场，停车站或者什么，你这个是表达什么？是符号着什么？然后那些树的跟那个还在活着，这个大广场是代表什么？
呀，因为这个广场对我来讲是个非常有意思的一个地方。其实广场是人聚集的地方，但是同时也是一个陷阱。
The idea, yes, this village is razed to the ground and turned into a public square. But the idea of a square is very fascinating to me. It should be an area that belongs to the people. But in China, such public areas actually become dangerous. They can become traps, places of danger.
然后我很想描述，在一个广场的下面是什么，也就是说，广场下面的历史是什么。他的爸爸妈妈就埋在下面。
So also, so when I describe what I'm interested in these very sterile public places, what I'm interested is in the history that is in the earth, buried in the earth beneath it. And so in this book, the public square, Ma Dowd knows that beneath this square lies the bodies of his parents who were driven to suicide through the actions of Ma Dowd. And he knows, so he is constantly aware of that repressed and tragic history that is lying just beneath the surface.
其实严格的讲，广场从苏格拉底开始，广场本来是一个言论自由的地方，广场是一个社会的核心。但是在中国，它这个核心变成了一个陷阱。如果你敢走到广场，比如说你们敢到天安门广场，你敢举出一个手做一个手势，可能很快警察就会把你给抓走。它反而变成一个控制言论的一个地方。
从谁开始？你说从谁开始？
从中国的极权主义开始，极权就变得非常危险。
Okay. So the squares in the general consciousness, squares are places where people can gather together in safety and feel part of a crowd, and where they can give full expression. It's the places of where speech is free and protected. But in China, think obviously you think straight away of Tiananmen Square, and you realize that this perhaps is the most dangerous place in China to walk across. You could just walk across it now and put your hands into the victory sign, and you will be immediately pounced on by police and thrown to the ground. So these in totalitarian, in authoritarian countries, these places that should be places of community and gathering together and free expression become places of terror and erasure.
Okay, thank you very much. And since we're speaking about also these memories, Ma Dowd's memories throughout the novel, especially increasingly as the plot reaches towards its conclusion, are continually stirred by the memories of an old girlfriend of his that was killed in the Cultural Revolution, Pan Hua. I suppose this question is directed more to you as a human being rather than as a novelist. Do you believe in the redemptive power of love in that way? Is Pan Hua a metaphor for that?
就是说你从也描写有那个他以前的第一个女朋友，然后他最后就是感到对她的那个怀念的一种爱情。你从你个人来说，或者从一个写小说的，你就描写那些细节是为了说，爱情就是一个会把人变好的一个东西。
呀，在每一本小说里边，我想跟大家的经验都是一样的，就是当我们无论要走到一个崇高的一个位置的时候，这个位置我们就可以看到爱。
So yes, I think every person here today will have this common experience that it is only that when you reach the most sublime regions of the human experience, what is left there, what exists there is love. That's what exists.
当然了，我认为当然了，爱它还是有很脆弱的一面，比如说它没有办法抵抗暴力 ，OK， 但是爱在我们人类的发展的历史上，它确实是一个非常重要的。比如说现在的香港，如果你能够感受得到那些年轻人他们爱自己生活的环境，他们的男孩女孩之间的爱的话，你会原谅他们的这个要求这个叫什么时代革命的这种欲望，因为他们认为自由，有了自由，有了爱，才有生活的一切，钱或者经济，他们可以把它放到第二位，这是人类发展非常重要的一点，它可以减少暴力。
But love is also a very fragile thing. It is powerless in the face of violence. It can be crushed by violence. But just look at Hong Kong today. Look at what these young people, what they're doing. It is for love for each other, love for their city, that they are carrying out what they call the revolution of our times, because they know that if you cannot live in freedom, that love is impossible. So they are prepared for this fight for their own their survival. They are prepared to put everything else aside. The economy, their own material well-being becomes meaningless. And I think this is a lesson that we must all hang on to, that for humanity to progress, it must be through the cherishing of of human love and that most valuable part of our being.
Indeed. Thank you very much. We shall actually return to Hong Kong in just a minute, but I had one last question in terms of the novel itself. One of the most striking chapters, I think, not that all the chapters aren't striking, is called, and every chapter is beautifully titled, and this one is called "Dreaming Your Life Away in a Drunken Haze." And I think quite suitably so, considering Ma Dowd's character. It begins with essentially, and he's trying to drown his sorrows at this stage. He has an orgy in a nightclub called the Red Guard nightclub, where the prostitutes essentially are dressed in a slightly sexy version of the outfits worn by the Red Guards back in the 1970s. And I wondered, is this, I mean, obviously, to me, it really spoke of the sad trivialization of history, the Disneyfication of memory, really, that we've seen across the world, not just in China. Is this, to you, an embodiment of the fight between entertainment versus memory? Is this what we're dealing with, a war between these two concepts?
你就描写那个在温哥酒吧那些镜头，你是不是在说，它就变成很卡通化的，跟历史没有关系的？你是不是说那个娱乐，就现在他们现代社会用娱乐去伤害记忆和历史？现代社会就变成很卡通化。
这是当然了，这个问题可能是说到现代一代人， 在中国的这一代年轻人，大家会注意到，他们对历史的这种情感是非常薄弱的。他们认为那是老一代记住的事，比如说仇恨，比如说个人的经历，这些跟他们没有关系。他们要寻找的一种现代生活。当然了，他们现在开始挂环、纹身，然后他们去各种酒吧，他们有同性恋，都很自由。这一点确实是跟我们这代人有一种距离，或者有一种情感的这个切割。但是背后这一点非常重要。当人们在娱乐，在这种流行文化里面的时候，你会其实活得越来越简单。当事情发生的时候，你并不知道你周围已经非常危险。你们可能都不知道，在中国，如果你在微信里面，你不小心写一句话，或者一个中国大陆的一个学生上了你们 BBC 的网，都可能是警察要找你谈话，要找你罚款。如果你写的很多段落很清楚，用了习近平3个字，或者用了中国梦3个字，可能都变得非常危险。人权、自由、民主，你能想到的很多词，都有可能会把你给从家里抓走。所以这种娱乐其实是一种麻木，是一种逃避。我理解他们，他们逃到那里会感到很安全。
Yes, you're absolutely right. This form of this sort of cartoonish, kitschy form of entertainment that's divorced from history, it is a form of evasion from reality, and it leads to a numbness. It is a simplification of human existence, and the real danger is it lulls people into a false sense of security. They feel that in this very hedonistic life, that everything, their lives are safe, that they can just drown their sorrows or their fears. But this is in fact a very dangerous predicament to be in when you're divorced from reality and from the history that teaches so many lessons. The young generation maybe don't understand the dangers of politics and how perhaps they're on the social media, and one incorrect text, one mention of democracy or human rights, or some ironic reference to the China dream or Xi Jinping, these can actually land you in jail. And so it is that dichotomy between the very hedonistic lifestyle and the real the terror of the reality that I wanted to explore here.
And I honestly think that worked beautifully, so thank you. Now, because I know it's a subject that's dear to your heart, Ma Jian, earlier this summer, when protests erupted in Hong Kong, wrote a very stirring, very insightful piece on what was going on in that city. And if you haven't read it already, I would certainly recommend that you do, although you should read the novel first, absolutely. But what I wanted to ask is, do you believe that the way of life, and because you lived in Hong Kong, of course you have lived in exile in London for the past 20 years, but you lived in Hong Kong, do you believe that the unique way of life that exists in that city, that was guaranteed by the Sino-British declaration, that should ensure its continuation up until 2047, I believe, do you think that it stands a chance of surviving until 2047, or are we seeing it basically die now or being under a mortal danger, really?
OK， 关于香港，知道你住了那边10年，你现在你也写了一个文章关于这些的，你觉得你看现在香港的情况，你觉得他们本来要50年可以保持他们的自由、他们的独立，你觉得他们现在的那个情况，你觉得他们的自由还能保持下来，或者现在他们是完蛋了？
我当然希望香港的作家们应该好好的去记住他们这一段历史， 因为这段历史跟97回归虽然隔了22年，但是这是2代人的思想的一种变化。
This is a extremely crucial moment in our history. It is a time that really deserves very careful analysis.
香港只有2个最好的东西，一个就是法治，另外一个就是自由，这是或者叫一个自由的港，这是香港最值得保留的价值。
So there are 2 things that are most precious about Hong Kong that makes it the place that it is, and one is rule of law, and the second is freedom.
就像你们爱丁堡要保持你们的文化一样，香港的文化其实就是最要保持的就是自由。
So what needs so when there's talk of preserving Hong Kong's culture for 50 years, what at the root of this, what's most important essential to Hong Kong's existence is freedom. It's the cherishing of freedom.
所以今天的香港人，他们并没有见到坦克开到天安门广场。老一代人知道，所以你会发现，当这些年轻人的时候，他再冲上马路的时候，他并没有想到，也许解放军就真的会用坦克挡着他们。也許1個月以後。
So the worry is that their parents, they have seen images of tanks rolling into Tiananmen Square, and that's part of their experience. But the 20-year-olds that are filling the streets now, they were not alive in those times. It's still divorced from their reality. So this is the worry. What will these tanks roll into Hong Kong?
我记得我在香港那个文学节，就是几月份？那是11月份，去年11月份，有2场演讲，他们都给我取消。然后我就说，如果你们不给我演讲，我就在大街上，我还是要讲这个中国梦。后来他们又给了我那个场地，这就说明，在香港它正在变，特别到了习近平时代，你会发现它会收得越来越紧，收得越来越紧。我的朋友，搞写作的、写小说的、搞出版的、开书店的，差不多都被他们抓走了，失踪了。中国梦本来说好了要出，然后他们说都很害怕，不敢出。大学出版社不敢出，普通的这个香港本地的出版也不敢出了。
So, but the history is happening overnight. Things are changing so fast. Just it seems ages ago, but last October I was invited to the Hong Kong Literary Festival to talk about China Dream, and this is a place where he lived for 10 years with no problems. But at the last minute, my talks were cancelled. They were too afraid the hosts were too afraid for me to speak about this book. My writer friends, publishers, booksellers in Hong Kong, many of them have been arrested, disappeared, or don't dare work anymore. This book, all my books until now have been published in Hong Kong, but for the first time, China Dream, no publisher, the biggest or the smallest, will dare publish it. And this was just last year, and already we could all sense that the encroachment of Xi Jinping's reign of terror into Hong Kong, it was the seeds were already there, but now it has reached a stage that is beyond expectation, beyond imagination.
我必须说一句，我的香港的一些朋友，有作家，有教授，只有一个观点，大家没有人认为会成功，但是他们要去做。他们说，我们要对这个历史有一个交代，我们为这些年轻人，我们做了，我们支持了，但是我们绝对相信，在这个习近平时代，他的成功率 是非常低，所以这点是很了不起。就是你知道你得不到一个结果，但是你知道这个结果是正义的，是对的，是守住自由，是一个价值观。OK， 他们努力去做，也可能坐牢，也可能死去，等等，他们去做了。他们为了失败去做。
So what strikes me, what moves me, is many writer friends of mine in Hong Kong that I've been in touch with. They all tell me that they feel that their fight will most definitely end in failure. They are fully aware that they could, by taking to the streets, they might be mowed down, they might be sent to prison. But they know that what they are fighting for has value, and the desire to hold on to freedom, and that they want to be able to face the younger generation and know that they did all they could to hang on to that and to fight for it, and that their battle is right, even though it may end in failure, that the reason for fighting is because the cause is just, and that is something that moves me deeply and I find is very noble.
It's a very noble idea and a very noble sentiment. Please. I think it's time to open this up to Q&A from you, the audience. Please put your hand up, and a mic will be brought to you. See someone right over there. I'm not going to be able to see them because of the lights, but yeah.
Thank you for a really interesting discussion and such a fantastic book. In an ideal world, what would be your China dream, your dreams for China?
OK， 你自己你觉得在理想的话，你自己的中国梦是什么？
我自己的中国梦当然是希望有一天中国共产党能够或者变得开放，或者瓦解，我第一时间买一张飞机票飞回我的国家。
So my personal China dream is that the Chinese Communist Party will either miraculously reform or will be deposed. But when that day comes, my dream is that at the very first second, I will buy a plane ticket and return to my homeland. 但是对中国的梦，对中国的梦。
Hello, yes, thank you so much for your writing, by the way. It has made an enormous impact on me, like everybody else, I'm sure. But I'm interested in what you said about the Chinese apparatus attempts at working at mind control over the decades. I've begun to think about this myself in two instances, and one I particularly wanted to ask about. This isn't the one I wanted to ask about most. I went to a Falun Gong session once, and only one, and I noticed that Falun Gong were really shifting consciousness. And when the Chinese government started to kill them, I think that's because they are effective in a way. The other thing, though, is a woman I had the good fortune to go on an organized trip to a mountain village near Yulin about 13 years ago, with a small group of Westerners. One of the Chinese people accompanying the trip, she actually works as an academic in America, in the arts, not history. And she's married to a Chinese man. So they are both Chinese. They live in America and have for a while. Her English is fluent. During that trip, several things happened with her. One was that at one point, when a storyteller came and was talking about his life, she suddenly burst into tears, wouldn't speak afterwards about it, and except that it was because of her memories of her parents being oppressed during the Cultural Revolution. I'm asking about the mind control. I want to know how this woman, who's I want to tell you what she's like. The other thing was that we stood in a room where Mao had lived,
Uh,
and
look,
she went.
could you please allow other people time to ask a question?
Okay, I'm sorry.
That will be
this
very
woman,
considerate of you.
okay,
Could
this
you
woman
please do
seemed
that?
to, despite her intellectual stature and the fact that she doesn't live in China, she seemed to have some kind of a crush on Mao, and she also seemed to be grief-stricken when she remembered her parents' oppression. And I want to know more about how you think, then, if you think this is an effect of mind control, and how they are going about. I'm sorry, but
Sorry, he's translating.
OK， 是是，
I'm
就是
sorry.
说，要知道政府怎么控制人的脑子，
Yeah.
然后把记忆拿走。就是人自己的记人自己的记忆，他们对自己童年做的坏事感到他们还是支持政府，但是觉得他们的记忆也被感动，这个想法。
我想这个最主要的一个问题就是，记忆其实是整个的人类的历史，但是这个历史如果都被抹杀了、被改变了，人的情感也就跟着改变了。我给你举一个例子啊，在中国，大家都读过，你们可能都读过安徒生的《一个卖火柴的小女孩》。如果你们读过，你去看中国的现在教给学生们的课本，它就可以改变。这个改变就是，他说有一个星星掉下来了，就有一个人到了上帝那里去了，对吧？你们看那个版，但是在中国不是这样，有一颗星星掉下来了，就有一个人离开了。一个人离开了，跟一个人去是上帝那里了，这是完全两个不同的位置。所以这种悄悄的改变在中国，你会发现人的情感也都跟着变。你会发现跟中国人讨论价值观，讨论你刚才的那些问题会非常困难，因为大家没有一种共同的一个位置去说话。
So yes, just to talk about how how when memories are not allowed to have full expression and thoughts are controlled, this brings to mind the story that the Matchstick Girl. Hans Andersen, it's the Matchstick Girl, isn't it? The Matchstick Girl. So the Chinese censors can change a little element in the story, which is when a star falls down from the sky, that means a person has risen to heaven. But in China, that part of the story has been changed to when the star falls to the ground, it means 一人走了就是死了。
离开了，什么都没有。
Oh, somebody has gone, has disappeared. So they have taken away that element of a soul rising to heaven. And this is just a minuscule example, but when books in that, fairy tales are distorted for political aims, it means that our common heritage of language, of literature, of memory is also warped and distorted. So there is no area where we can share our own, whether it's memories and common literary heritage. So this is what I think is destroyed.
We have time for just one last question, I think, unfortunately.
Just going back to Hong Kong, do you think the triad are involved as well with the people?
关于香港，你觉得是黑社会也进入，或者是政府里面有派一些人去破坏？
当然，这个是非常明显的。这发生了两个非常大的事情，一个是立法会，这些年轻人在砸碎了玻璃要冲进去的那一刻，警察没有了，立法会变成了一个陷阱，你们可以进去，过1小时以后，2个小时以后，警察才过来。然后又发生了一个事情，就是中联办门口游行的队伍往那边走，可能那段路如果让我走要半个小时，他们走到那里也没有警察， 然后那些国徽又被涂改了，然后过了一会儿警察又来了，2个陷阱。然后你就知道，香港的警察已经不是20年前我在香港，我们在街上游行，我们砸了维多利亚女王的这个像，告诉红色的中国要来了，已经不是那样了。警察和香港人已经变成了一种对立的关系，这种变化是非常可怕的。
Yes, there's certainly triad involvement, and also the use of agent provocateur, and the deliberate policy of setting traps. For example, when the protesters were trying to throwing stones at the parliament, where the police were absent. They were laying a trap where they were drawing them in. These are all very manipulated strategies to try. And Hong Kong today, 20 years ago, my fellow writer friends and I were demonstrating against the handover and trying to warn everyone of the dangers of the communist takeover. And at that time, the police were on our side, but they were friendly forces. But now, after 20 years of Chinese rule, the police have become enemy operators. It is a complete disintegration of what was so special and unique about Hong Kong.
我想雨果如果在香港的话，他一定要写一本当代的悲惨世界。就是这个历史的变化是非常浓缩了我们人类发展的一个阶段，怎么守住自由，自由怎么丢失，集权怎么过来，一步一步。
But it seems to this really is the subject for a novel by Victor Hugo. But because it seems to encapsulate in just a matter of years or months this great human struggle of the fight for freedom, of the crushing of freedom, and then people fighting on again. It is an extremely condensed version of that eternal human story.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I came with some friends to come to see Ma Jian today, who was excellent. I travel a lot, so I've been to China quite a lot, so I really wanted to hear what he had to say in relation to his thoughts on how China is today versus China sort of in the Cultural Revolution. It was really good.
It was great, it was very well chaired, and as with these events there's usually a translator present, so it was really good to see the interaction between the author, the translator and the chair as well. It was good.
I'm very excited, especially when I meet the writer Ma Jian. I really love him, and I know him many years ago in China, but I never met him, as the reason of everyone knows, because he'd been in UK for many years. So I feel really lucky to meet him here.